and welcome back to Euro's interviews with our amazing members all over the world. It's a great pleasure to introduce you today to two faces which most people within the organisation will already know. Lesley Putnam, who is Vice President of Global Operations at Clearmove, and James Speirs, who's Vice President of Global Supply at Clearmove. It's really great to see you both. We should have all seen each other much more recently than this, but anyway. So first of all, how are you all doing, and how are your teams doing?
Well,
yeah, I'll take that one off.
Yeah, thanks, Dom. Good to see everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello, Eura. We're all good. We're all functioning. We are based in 3 different parts of the globe. UAE, Ukraine and London predominantly. So we've been connecting, as most of us all have been, via Zooms and chats and working remotely. But I think everyone's been adapting very well to the climate that we all face ourselves in, and getting used to working and organising ourselves remotely. I think it's fair to say that we are missing that face-to-face contact now that we're 12 odd weeks further down the line, but overall we're still productive. We've been working on individual projects and working on how we can support both our clients and our service partners once the pandemic is not over, but once the pandemic has flattened, and how we can be productive and supportive.
And tell me was that an easy thing to implement? Because like you say, you're a multi-site operation across 3 different places. Were you already, I know you're a very technical company, were you already pretty set up for that?
And I think along those lines, whilst we have got quite a footprint through the EMEA region, we're a relatively small company, as we're a startup, but we're tech first. So part of that is everybody that works at Clearmove has got a laptop. So, we're plug and play wherever we go. We're very agile about how we do it. We do like being in the office, as Lesley says. I think after 12 weeks, we are missing each other, even if it is to jib and jibe each other in the office. You can't really do that with the family at home. They get sensitive about it. I think for us, it was very easy to just pick up, walk out the office, sit down at home and carry on like normal.
It is so interesting what you say about, we're all now missing being in the office. Initially, you think, oh, this is great, I don't have to commute, but actually, you really miss that camaraderie, banter. And I think some of the kind of, I know you guys are traveling around your sites. Do you find that it's when you're on site that you get that sort of creative sharing going on?
I think so, and I think that as you were saying, we're very agile and always have been, and we can plug in and just conduct our business as usual wherever we are, whether it even be sitting on the steps at a Euro conference in between coffee break, we can still do that. But I think the one thing that you actually get is when you're in that office environment, when you're on Zooms or Skype messages or whatever, you miss the body language of tone. You miss that. Is someone actually, they may be very saying, boy, it's cold in here, but is it cold, or is it, I think you miss that interaction, and you pick up the unspoken when you're in offices. You get the feel of what is the temperature, what is the mood, how is everybody feeling, by just being in that office. And when we're traveling and we're going to our offices in region, you get a very different feel for what's going on by sometimes just sitting and listening. And I think that's what I know from a personal perspective, that's what I'm missing. And I think everyone's coming out of this current climate actually recognising that whilst this is brilliant to have the opportunities like we're having now at Zooms and meetings, they're very intense. You're very focused, you're very intense, you're very, and you are having more and more and more and more. And today, you're bouncing from meeting to meeting to meeting. Whereas in reality, in the office, you would, in between a meeting session, say, let's go grab a coffee and just have that. So I think we're missing, well, I know I am. I don't think James misses the fact that I probably do that, but
I think I'd probably take a different angle on it from working in the supply chain. I think before COVID, before we all, adapted to Zoom so quickly and easily, most of our calls in the supply chain are typically conducted via a telephone call. So, you're doing a lot of business over the telephone or via email. I think through this time, I've found that my connection with the supply chain has actually adapted and improved, because I do get to see the partners that I'm working with. I do get to sit here and have this sort of conversation and engage. It's not just a telephone call where you don't know if they're sitting on the side there looking at their phone. You're actually engaged with them, or like quickly responding to an email, which I've kind of enjoyed, and I'm enjoying that adaptation. If there's anything I take away from it, I'm going to avoid a telephone call as much as I can and carry on using Zoom.
I agree. I think it's fantastic. It's very interesting that you say that, because again, when we've been thinking about the future of the organisation and what we do, and how, obviously travel and conferencing is central to what we do, and how Euro functions. It's been so interesting talking to people saying, yes, we do most of our supply chain work over the phone, which is great, but that once a year, twice a year get together is really, really key. So it's interesting to say that. So this is something you both talked about, we are now, slowly but surely starting to come out of this. What are your teams doing?
Well, I'll probably jump in here first, man. The vast part of our team, because predominantly whilst we're breaking into the mobility space, we're not really breaking in as that traditional RMC. Okay. We're coming into the mobility space as a software as a service company. And what our team has been doing is sitting down and working on the various verticals that we're putting in play for the industry, if you will. Before we went into COVID, we were quite far ahead with our HR platform and our employee user experience platform. And what we've done through this downtime, and one of the most critical elements as far as I'm concerned, of course, being head of supply chain, is working on our Paradigm platform, which is for our partners, and actually building a CRM that has all that API connectivity that I know your members have been crying out for, and I know it exists there as well, but we're actually building an ecosystem and putting our partners at the center of that. So that for me has been a really exciting time. It's kept me, it's hard to say busy during these times, but I have to say it has kept me busy working with my development team. They are a bunch of very smart people. I am starting to learn speak a different language I didn't know existed before. And I've seen on some of your, some of the other interviews that you've gone through, and we have to thank the people that are sitting in IT support or in the development side of things, and working our networks to make sure that we do carry on doing work during these periods, and we come out of it ready to proceed. And I'd like to recognize our team in Kiev, because they are doing an absolute phenomenal job down there.
That's great. I mean, that's really interesting, because a lot of the conversations that I've been having with people, I mean, we're all hoping that things are going to get back to a normality, but it is going to be a different normal. And everyone's been saying about, the reliance now on virtual systems, on connectivity, on things that make supply chain really smooth, because, that's always, like you said, we've been talking about this at Euro conferences for years. It's very, very key. And as people are going to be relying more and more on technical solutions to things which necessarily might have worked differently in the past.
Absolutely. And I think the one thing that that sits at the key of our platform as well is that sense of collaboration. A lot of people come to Euro to meet up with industry peers, to build those relationships, to make those networks so that they can grow their businesses, form partnerships that allow that business to grow across borders as well. And we've really taken that into consideration while we're building up our Paradigm platform as well, because we want that to actually come into a space and flourish. So instead of people having to wonder how we join those dots and how we connect and make that possible, we really want to be able to enhance that collaboration and make that collaboration work.
And just as an example of exactly that, and the fact that because we are the collaboration is really there, and our colleagues in the Ukraine are very available to us, and the engineers and the design team. We've been working on the operational side of the business, on looking at the very basics and simple things, like when we're connecting with an assignee for that kind of briefing session call and the needs assessment. And we've been able to work and collaborate with the team, say, well, this is what we want, this is how we want it, we've increased it, we've adapted it, we've reworked it, and we want that to be in place in our platform, so that we can work with it, and it's been done. Whereas James and I both know historically that you can make those requests, and they're well received, and everyone understands the benefits and the reasoning behind it and the productivity. But it's, yes, get in the line of order on when it can be done. And 6 months later, you may get, we're ready to do that now. Whereas our team in the Ukraine are responsive to what we're asking them to do, you know, there and then. And so we're not as an organization, if you like, chasing a moving bus, where, you know, if we actually put our hand up to stop to get on it, we can, and we can move forward with things. So that's one of the real benefits that we have. And with the knowledge and the change, and we will see changes within the industry on how things are, or how services are delivered. And yes, we will be seeing a lot more, in our opinion, virtual services, and we'll be seeing a lot more virtuals of whether it be a home search or whether it be a household goods moving survey. They're going to become more and more norm, but it's how we work with our corporate client and how we work with the assignee on making that excuse me, as sort of real as possible, but without losing the human touch and the human element. And that's so to James's point, you know, we say it all the time. Yes, we are predominantly an IT support function for the mobility industry, but we're a bit of a hybrid when it comes to an RMC. We're not the traditional corporate RMC, where we like to think of ourselves as sort of trailblazers, if you like, or industry disruptors, just to think and to move forward. And we have the ability to, if a good idea gets brought to the table, then let's explore it. If it's good, let's work with it, let's do it. And our co-owner, Haytham Al-Khatib, he's very open to, let's hear the suggestions. If they work, brilliant, let's move forward with them. Okay, if they don't work, then okay, we'll rethink it. So we're fortunate in that way. And to that point, I think that's the collaboration within our units and our industry. So everybody has a very important part and role to play, not just in our roles, but from knowledge, experience, understanding the industry. So we gel and collaborate well together.
I think it's so interesting that, you know, we've got, you know, there's going to be a few big milestones for our industry moving forward. There's going to be the coming out of this, and the people I'm talking to at the moment in the, you know, our DSPs are saying we're already working with different processes and different ways of having to do things. I spoke to somebody last week who was saying we're doing virtual home searches, but we're not doing what you see on the television saying, isn't this a lovely kitchen? We're actually doing the real thing. We're saying this is what you might find quite irritating about this apartment, and when you drive yourself around the neighbourhood, the assignee going in a separate car to look, you know, the map is sent. All of that stuff is very innovative, and it's kind of, you know, very much tying into what you're doing. Do you see that? I mean, this is a crystal ball question, and I apologise for it, but do you see that as a trend moving forward, or do you think that will be something that will be temporary because assignees want the touch, the being in the car with the consultant? I don't know.
My view of this has always been, in the world that we live in, pre-COVID, and I think coming out of COVID as well, if we look at what our clients and our customers want, they want us to be flexible. They want us to, you know, be agile and actually move with what they require at the time. And I think Yeah, I've heard so much about the time that we're in now, and the old adage, you know, necessity is the mother of all invention. Yeah. So I think what we're experiencing now, and you know, I've always referred to everything that we do as we're just topping up our toolkit, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're creating an environment where we're bringing more options to the table. Are they there to stay? I think they're there to stay in one form or another, absolutely, because I think everybody agrees that whilst we will get back to normal, it's a new normal, and there will be things that we adopt from this period and we carry on moving forward, whether that just becomes a very useful tool in a toolbox or whether that becomes a new norm. And I'm sure there's a few businesses that are actually springing up and making that their core business, and they'll focus on doing that well. And kind of that's where our, you know, I look at a good product as something that puts options in place. So if you have all those products available, you're essentially somebody who's very agile and flexible. It's not about how quickly you can do something, it's about how quickly you can implement. And if you already have it there, you've got those choices available. So I think it's a good time. I don't think we should, you know, get rid of anything. If I've learned anything over the last 5 years in this industry, we went through a significant change where the traditional long-term went away and it became all about the short-term, low cost. Let's try and do flex, core plus flex and everything. And then, you know, coming over the last 2 years, everybody kind of stood back and said, hang on, why are we failing with our VIPs? We went so far the other way, trying to address the cost-conscious side of things, that we kind of were struggling to remember what we need to do for that old traditional VIP service delivery. And I think that's about keeping all those choices available, well honed, and being able to implement them when they come in, instead of saying, this is what we do now.
And to James's point there, I think as well, the ability to adapt and go with change. And we cannot, I don't think as an industry, sit there and say, well, this is what we do because this is the way we've always done it, or these are the services that everyone wants because this is what they've always done. I think that what we'll find, and it completely supports what James is saying, we'll find is that there'll be a blended approach and everyone will take best practices and they'll blend the services, and it will be blended in accordance to, you know, the corporate policies or their profiles or how they are as an industry. There will be the culture of our corporate client that will be very, this is what we have, this is what we do, this is how we do it. And there'll be the culture of the technology companies that say, we just want to run with it and get it done with, and we want to do this and we want to do that, and we want to see how it moves, and we're going to mix and match. And I think as long as an industry and service providers to the industry have an open mind to that, then we will grow and develop as well. And I think that that's something that we embrace in Clearmove. You know, we embrace the fact that everything changes very rapidly, very quickly, and what was relevant yesterday, it might still be relevant, but with a few tweaks, with a few changes. And I think that that's what, you know, at Clearmove, we are good at being open-minded and adapting and working with however people want us to work with them. To that point, I know that James will want to talk a bit more about how we want to work with our service partners, for instance. So
I was going to ask about that actually, because I mean, one of the interesting things to me has been, you know what it's like. You come to the conferences, you go to the big America, the WFC conference, and you know, and in previous roles, you're both taking the temperature of the industry every time you go to those meetings. You know, what is the feeling within the supply chain? And, you know, you go to one conference and everyone's just terrified because suddenly everyone's talking about AI and it's going to take everyone's jobs away. And then you go to another conference and everyone's feeling much more optimistic because, like you say, there's a return to higher touch services. So this industry, in my experience, has just been incredibly agile. I mean, you both use that word. And I think, you know, that's what I wanted to just bring up, that word agility, that, you know, people are, especially this 3 month period, well, 6 months, you know, for some of the world, the change that we've seen already in our industry is phenomenal.
One would say definitely our industry, but globally as well. I mean, you know, I've been looking out of the mobility industry into supply chain as a whole because it does interest me. And you know, we talk about what's happening there. And, you know, very shortly, as we come out of COVID, there's a whole thing about, you know, climate change that's coming into play and what we've seen. But I don't want to digress and go off topic there. But yeah, we've all seen the changes, and we've all been impacted with it because our clients, I mean, trust me, if our clients were still moving, we would have found a way to still service them. That's what this industry is about. You know, we're very ingenious when it comes to actually meeting our clients' needs. I want to flip back to that collaborative. We started with that collaborative element, and you know, the new technology that's coming out. And I think, you know, we've sat down and we've discussed this internally and how we support our clients and our partners moving forward. You know, it's growth opportunity, isn't it? And we see that growth opportunity being more of a collaboration in the future. As I said earlier on, I alluded to the fact that you're going to probably find some tech startups that come out of this that have really embraced the fact that we're in a virtual world right now, and they're perfectly positioned to come up with a product that meets that virtual requirement. Now, some of our more traditional DSPs are not that evolved in the technological world. How do they take advantage of something like that? And that's where the collaboration comes in. Don't try and build something that you don't really know how to build to begin with. Why not collaborate with somebody who's built it? Because as much as you want to offer your customers a solution, that person who's built that product wants to work with you to actually offer it as well. And in that case, a big part of our Paradigm platform is going to be that. It's going to be there for our partners to collaborate. It's going to enable that sort of interaction with our partners being able to offer different verticals, if you will, because you've now got a client asking you to do something. And the typical, dare I say it, the typical approach to it is, oh, you know what, we really enjoy getting services from you. You do such a great job for us. Sorry, I thought that was on mute. I actually saw it on an interview yesterday, and I thought, oh, how silly is that? And I've just done it myself. You know, and that's kind of thrown me a little bit, but offer different verticals. So, you know, we really love you delivering services for us in France, but we want to help. We want you to help us with our services into Spain, Italy, the UK, Germany as well. And we want you to help us with immigration, household goods, you know, the full package. And the typical answer is, yeah, we can help you with immigration and DSP services because that's what we already do. However, we can't get Germany. So what are you going to do? You're going to knock on one of the RMC's doors and say, can you help us with this? Whereas what we're offering is, why don't you own that client? Why don't you partner with like-minded partners that you know, and you've got the tools to do that effectively? And it's just enabling. And I know that, you know, through things like the Euro, people have built those partnerships and they do it today as it exists. But how do they manage that effectively? How do they keep an eye on it? And that's what the Paradigm offers. It offers everything in a secured system, consistent communication, consistent management, consistent KPIs that are measured, and you don't have to switch and change. You can all categorically say, we perform like this because we've got the technology to perform like this. And then your nature comes into it, the other side of it.
Yeah, I mean, this is fascinating because, I mean, again, you know, 20 years I've been involved, I've been lucky enough to be involved in Euro. And, you know, when we were starting as an embryonic organization, there was a real silo mentality in our industry. That collaboration, I'm sure you would agree, just wasn't there.
Yeah.
And that's just moved on so much. And from that point of view as well, we need to, I've got a training idea another time. But yeah, I mean, that collaboration has, it's like, you know, everything happens at the right time. You know, COVID-19 could never happen at the right time, but at least we all had home internet and Zoom.
Yeah.
And we're an adaptive bunch of, you know, the human race. We adapt very quickly. We haven't evolved as quickly as we haven't got to where we are without adapting. So, you know, there's never a right time for something like this, but we always come out the other end shining.
And I think as well that the Euro, I know that James, we've been looking and working and increasing and looking and supporting partner network. Our first port of call has been go to Euro. To be perfectly honest with you, we've understood that if somebody is a member of Euro, then they're already recognising the professionalism, the culture, the need for service delivery excellence, etc. So that definitely has been our first thought, is what Euro members are out there. And I think that because of Euro and the way the conferences are and the way the members interact, there is already this understanding that actually independently we can stand quite well and we can do quite well. However, by partnering with each other, we increase our knowledge, we increase our expertise, and ultimately our business. We can grow and develop together. I know that sounds a bit cliche, that's not meant to be, but we can grow with each other. And I think that if you ever take the temperature after a Euro conference, when you've spoken to a new member, or if you're in conference with a new member, I think one of the things that comes out of that is everyone's very transparent. They're wanting to share about the knowledge and the expertise, and this is really what we're saying, is we can share our knowledge and expertise to work with our partners in our partner network, and they will increase and enhance their business because of our portals and our platforms. And that's something that James and the team have been working on, sort of very diligently throughout this recent period. And the other area is what we can do and how we can support our corporate client post COVID-19 with developing track and trace for their employees. Do our clients really know that their assignees have been tested? If they've been tested, what were their results? What have they got vaccinations against? So our portal allows our clients to have all that information to hand. So if they have a project, they will know by working with us who of their assignee population or their employee population has tested and they're negative and they can go here, there. So it makes their population more agile, and it gives them a lot more information. We've been hearing from lots of sources, whether it be clients or whether it be supply chain or whoever, that one of the big things that have been going on during this period is actually finding out where their population are. Where are our employees? Are they safe? Apart from working with them on an SOS platform, making sure that everyone is okay. Where are they? What have they done? How are they managing? What are they doing? And our platform with working with our clients allows them to have all that information in one place. So everything is live, everything is talking to each other. And that allows them to be more efficient and apply that real duty of care as well to their assignees. Because we have to be very aware that our clients, corporate clients, us as well, we have a duty of care to ensure that assignees are okay, they are safe, they are where we think they should be, and that a line manager hasn't oofed them off somewhere else on another little project somewhere and they're out in Mongolia. I know these sound very simple things, but the consequences of not knowing could be quite catastrophic. So we've been collaborating and working again across with our partners, with our clients in this way.
It is going to be very interesting to see, as I say, what's going to change. I think you're right. I think levels of duty of care are going to change enormously. I think we're all looking at our liabilities much more closely than perhaps we were before. So it's a fascinating topic which we should come back to. So I'd love to come back to you guys as people have started to open up, as DSPs are out there in the field, as corporates are moving their people again. And of course, that I think that is looking more likely than it has for quite some time. So I was just going to sum up by asking you, how are you doing and how's the national mood? How are people feeling, Lesley?
Oh, me first.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're feeling positive. We're feeling positive. I think that we're seeing that, yes, there is light at the end of this dark tunnel. And speaking to a client this morning where they're equally feeling, you know, things could be on the turn. I don't think we're going to see a big tap turned on and the rush of everyone running around. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think it will be a definite drip feed, and the more confidence that there is out there, that the more people will, you know, start to think we have got to continue to move forward.
Life goes on.
Yeah. Life goes on. Life goes on.
Yeah, James.
Positive as well. I mean, I got on Sunday, I'm going to meet a couple of friends for coffee, which will be the first real external, you know, visit. I take, leave the family behind and go, okay. And I'm really looking forward to that. And I think just for everybody else, the fact that we can now, without breaking any laws, go and meet people is an absolute relief. I also look at the 14, you know, one of the, I've been watching your interviews as well. One of the interesting observations that I've made is, come the beginning of this, when we went down into lockdown, there was a lot of government, you know, different governments saying different things. And I think the RMCs took the lead because the clients were saying, this is what we can do. And they, you know, they stepped forward, and all of us were telling our supply chain what needs to happen. What I'm liking is that the converse, or the inverse of that, coming out of it, because now the government regulations are opening, and it's fine. We're saying, let's go ahead and do things. And getting people back into an office, you need to take certain precautions to make sure that that happens properly, but actually delivering services. And I think that's where I want to take my hat off to everybody that's out there delivering services, not only the partners that we're engaged with and we're speaking to. They are really leading the way and telling people how it needs to happen, and actually saying what is possible. You know, we want to keep our employees safe and your employees safe. And I just think that it's great that, you know, it's kind of come that full circle, well, half circle, insofar as clients have been leading us into this, but our providers are going to lead us out of this, and how we actually get through this and deliver the services moving forward.
It's funny that you say that. We put together, Martina Sharvai, who's in charge of the quality, so she put together a policy for a guidance document for how to work with both clients and your teams as we start to open up. And, you know, the take-up was great. The members were really pleased to have it. But most of the people I talked to were like, yeah, that's so last month. We kind of did that. So, you know, great people. Listen, it's great to catch up with you. Again, like I say, I'd love to catch up with you again sort of August, September, and find out where we are then. But, you know, it's been really nice to have this conversation and this interaction. And thank you very much indeed. And all the best as things move up.
Likewise, you and the audience as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
It's lovely to see you. Bye. Bye.
Bye.